I never really identified as a dancer, not my whole life. And now, because I go somehow a little bit away again from the dance to find new things, still in my head, I'm like 14 years old football prodigy. But yeah, I think the fact that I didn't identify allowed me to be free of trying to focus too much on one technique. Instead, finding my way of moving and just trusting that way of moving and seeing how that can manifest into something which other people might be interested in. My fear of failure was quite low because I'd never been the best. I'd never been the one in the class who was always the top student. I'd always been the one who was like struggling because of the injuries, because of the physicality that I had from sprinting, very, very bound, very closed, very compact. I was happy to just try and fail and see what I could learn, what would interest me. And then at a certain moment, after a certain amount of exposure to some teachers, the message was very clear from the ones that I especially trusted was expose your practice, but if you want to understand more, see how much you can communicate. My theory is that if you really understand something very well, you can communicate it and bring someone else to that same place of understanding. Not necessarily through explaining, but through creating an environment where they can learn for themselves. This became the basis of the teaching practice as it is now, which is creating a training environment where I'm not the teacher, I'm facilitating the space, and I'm choosing the games, the tasks, the tools, but everybody has the space and capacity to learn from themselves. We spend most of our life looking outside, especially now within the society. We're looking online, we're looking to the other people. The answer is always there. Here we create a space where we can see somehow if the answer is sometimes also here, but we need to be able to listen. Yeah. In an ideal world, people would feel free to take the things which were useful from the research, apply it to their own life, and feel free to share it with others, to test their own understanding and to see if that benefit can spread. This is very idealistic, yeah, and somehow not always realistic, especially when the classes are short. If there was one thing from the shorter classes, I would say that the application of playfulness and understanding that play is the central part of learning, including the ability to try and fail without judgment, and the reintroduction of play into an adult life has many benefits. It doesn't have to be childish, it doesn't have to be silly to be playful. Playful can be very serious, but there's certainly a degree of society which tries to keep it out of our life, keep everything a bit like this. It's quite confronting, the practice, because you just have to get used to failure. This understanding that as the key sort of ingredient to learning is failure. Now, we're not learning for the sake of learning tricks or skills or movement or learning to move like me, because these guys all move better than me anyway, like as dancers. But instead, understanding that if we can find every day the search for new things, this keeps us in a very, very soft interaction with the world. If it can last your life, then every day of your life can be joyful. Falling in love with the search rather than the arrival, because the arrival will pass. It will come and it will go. And it's in our education, happy ever after, but it will pass. The real story is what happens after happy ever after, because things go wrong. Life goes like this. Good shit, good shit, good shit. So somehow, it's more than just a dance class, it's more than just a movement class or things like this. It's just looking at philosophy, and it's very inspired by Taoism and acceptance. And then finding just a way to live joyfully. Because what else can we do at the end of the day? And it's not always easy. I have the benefit of being free to explore. Many people don't have this freedom. I fully intend to take advantage of that to see what it can bring.